Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and we broadcast on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation every Tuesday from 7 to 8 o'clock Pacific time. But
now,
if you want to get ahead of the game, you can actually be in the chat room when we pre-record the show. And the way to do that is to join the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group. When you join, it will ask you some questions. So mention that you heard on the podcast that's why you're asking to join. And if you don't like Facebook, we also live stream on YouTube. So there's a bunch of different ways to participate and connect with us and join in our show topics, which are always about metaphysics and spirituality, by the way. And tonight's topic, I'll let Corey introduce it. What is it, Corey?
Oh, nothing like putting me on the spot, right? Well, we're looking at one of our listeners wanted to discuss emotions with regard to illness, and I think it's pretty understood that emotions such as the stress and anxiety actually cause physical illness, and there are ways to help yourself when you get into those positions. And there are a lot of issues that we have in our life, physical issues we have in our life that we don't realize are emotional issues and traumatic issues that caused it from the past, like back pain. They've actually shown where 85% of back pain and back pain sufferers, it's all an emotional thing. It's all basically quote unquote in your head. Not really in your head, but it is in your head. And you can remove it in the same manner. And it's very true. I've done it myself. I think you've done it as well, Dr. Leslie, and there are ways to do it.
Great, thank you for that introduction. So folks, tonight's show is to do with this illness caused by stress and anxiety. And as Corey said, there is a proven connection between stress, anxiety, and the development of physical illness.
Yep.
And, it usually, probably not usually, probably 100% of the time, actually, if you've got some physical symptom that's manifesting, that's your body communicating with you. That's your body telling you to pay attention to something. And if you investigate that physical symptom, you will find an underlying emotion, and you will find an underlying belief usually, and some underlying thoughts. Now the body will try to get your attention, and it will try to get your attention when something is out of alignment by speaking to you through the emotions. And if you ignore the emotions, it will shout louder and louder and louder. At first through its emotions, but if you don't respond on that level, then it will take it to a physiological level, which becomes much harder for you to ignore at that stage. And so, yeah. There is a direct correlation between stress, anxiety, and illness.
And the opposite is true. There's a correlation between healing and emotions and physical illness.
If you look at the vibrational scale, at the bottom of the vibrational scale is fear, and at the top of the vibrational scale is love. And so if you're managing your vibration in the higher end of the vibrational scale, then you are more likely to be in a state of physical health than if you are not doing that, and that your main vibration is hanging out at the lower end of the emotional vibrational scale. Now, in thinking about this, you know, there's a book it's over 40 years old now, this book by Louise Hay. It's a very famous book, and it's almost like a library or a Bible of the connection between the emotions and physical illness. It's a really good book. And I was just curious before the show to see, I think she lists probably about 250 different illnesses and describes what the underlying emotion, in her opinion, is. And I did a little word analysis on that before the show. And what do you think the most common emotion associated with illness is? So if you're on the chat, you can write it in the chat. Corey, you can guess along as well. What do you think?
Stress.
Not stress, but I think that this is an emotion that's connected in with stress.
Anger.
Anger was the second most mentioned emotion associated with
It's got to be hate then.
You know, I didn't look to see, I didn't ask the question of hate, but I can quickly do that now. It wasn't hate. So 3 guesses and then I'll tell you. What's your third guess?
Love.
Love? Fear.
Fear.
Fear. Fear was the most common.
Carol got it. Carol got fear.
Fear. And why?
Way to go, Carol.
And I think fear is associated with stress and anxiety. Anxiety is a form of fear. When we're stressed out, we're usually, you know, coming against some kind of pressure about something. So I think fear is related to stress and anxiety. Now, fear was the most common underlying emotion of all of the emotions listed. And, well, fear is energy is not moving, right? The energy is not moving. To be healthy, the energy needs to be moving. The energy needs to be in a state of flow. And so when we're in fear, it isn't. So the energy is blocked. Okay, the energy is blocked, the energy is stuck. And then that's when we get stagnant energy and backed up energy and forms of, you know, resisting and so on. And so that can lead to, if the energy is not flowing in your body, then that can lead to illness. Yeah, and Corey, number 2, as you said, was anger. And then the third one, at least of the words that I searched for, because I might have missed some, was guilt. Guilt was also high on the list, feeling guilty. And I haven't, well, I know, for example, guilt is often, shame could be another one I could look for, couldn't it? Guilt is often associated with the lungs, actually, and, you know, diseases of the lungs. I think I could probably find an example in any kind of illness, in any body system, you know, where fear is at the core of the matter. Yeah, so.
Well, I think fear and love are the two major emotions, as you say, sort of like when any other emotion, sort of like hate or something, comes into play, that is fear, because any negative emotion is based under that topic of fear, because any emotion comes in, it's always has to do with you're looking at a lack, or you're looking at just a fear. It's a fear-based emotion. So I think, as far as number 1 is concerned, I think it is always number 1, and no matter what emotion you have, it's going to be based in that number 1 emotion. So But so I think I was right. Ha ha ha.
What?
Since
Anger.
anger is number 2.
Well,
I want a star.
You have kind of like a vibrational scale in a way where the emotions are concerned, and the bottom of that is fear, right? And then you've kind of got a dividing line between the negative or bad feeling emotions versus the positive or good feeling emotions. So you've got fear at the bottom and you've got love at the top. The next one up from fear is anger. And so often really what's going on with people who are really angry is that they're actually really afraid. And the anger is a way of exploding and getting the energy to move. Because with fear, the energy is stuck. And when you're angry, the energy starts moving again. And you've actually, from fear to anger, raised your vibration. You're still in a very low vibrational state, but at least the energy is moving. And I think, like, for example, anger is often associated with things like, blood pressure, high blood pressure, or things to do with the urinary system, the kidneys being pissed off. Or even the spleen, venting your spleen. In fact, we've got sayings, we've got lots of sayings in the English language that we unconsciously use, like venting your spleen. Don't even realize what we're saying, We're talking about anger and we're connecting it with the spleen. Being pissed off, we're talking about anger and we're connecting it with peeing, right? We're connecting it with the urinary system and so on.
I had a session years ago with, what do you call them when they do energy work with you? I've forgotten.
All sorts of different
names. Anyway, I was having issues. I was having bladder issues, and she's got me on the thing, and she looks at me and she says, "You're pissed off." And I said, "Yeah, I'm upset." No. She says, "You don't get it." She said, "You're pissed off. Mm-hmm. You're having issues with your bladder because you're pissed off." And it hit me. It clicked, right? And then what? Yeah, that's true. I'm having bladder issues because I'm pissed off, because I'm angry. And it's weird how things like that.
Well, you think you blow your top. The pressure gauge has gone to max. You blow your top. That's your blood pressure. Yeah.
Carol says it would be great to have a list of sayings that relate to different emotions in regards to that.
Well, Carol, if you don't have a copy of Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, that's a really good, that's got a really fantastic list. There's pages and pages of it. As a good reference, Carol's in my medical intuition course, and I would say that I always advocate for you to read the energy directly in a person that you're reading, because I think Louise Hay's it's like a seminal work, it's foundational work, it's really great, and I find a lot of resonance with what she says. But also, don't forget, everybody is unique. And so you want to look directly at the energy of the person that you are, so if somebody comes to you with high, and they say, oh, my doctor says I've got high blood pressure, you want to look at that high blood pressure directly. And you may say, oh, well, it's exactly the same as Louise Hay's reference, but something different might come up. So we always want to look directly at that. Let's see what she says about blood pressure.
And Brian just made a comment too. He says, that's true if you allow anger to express. As it gives way, there's usually the underlying emotion, the fear comes to the surface then. Very true.
High blood pressure, long-standing emotional problem that's not been solved. And her solution is, I joyously release the past and I'm at peace. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, as you know, the circulation, it's interesting, isn't it? And diet, like that, take a disease like diabetes, it's to do with sugar and sugar metabolism, the sweetness of life, no joy, lack of joy, lack of sweetness.
You know what's really nice about it? About stuff like, maybe I'm going a little too quick into the positive side of this. What's really interesting about it is that as much as the emotions control the physical aspect, your physical aspects can control the emotions as well. For instance, there's a great exercise you can do, like depression. What are the physical symptoms of depression? And it's shallow breathing, you know, and you're hunched over and you're sad, you're not smiling, and you walk slowly. And if you do those things for a while, just even though you're not depressed, you will become slightly depressed. It's interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
And so the vice versa, if you're depressed and you sit up straight, you take deep breaths, you smile, you walk energetically, the depression subsides. And depression is one of our major things. And what happens with people is they get into that depressive state and they allow their physical nature to keep that depression going. And the same with other illnesses, is the same thing. We get into that, oh, that hurts, that hurt. Like as an example, I just went to the doctor. I had a blood test, a regular blood test. I went to the doctor and I had an x-ray as well. And he said, my gallbladder is an issue and it should come out. And I wasn't having any problem with my gallbladder. And all of a sudden, my gallbladder started irritating me. You know, like it's weird. It's just strange how the whole thing works in either direction. So now what I have to do is I have to go to a place where, no, my gallbladder is fine. There's nothing wrong. Everything's wonderful. Right, Dr. Leslie?
Yeah. You want to know what Louise Hay's book says about gallstones?
That's to do with your wife.
Bitterness, hard thoughts, and condemning pride.
Oh, that's me.
Bitterness. Yeah.
And guess what?
Break time.
It's already time for a break.
We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth. Tonight's show is about stress and anxiety and how stress and anxiety links in with illness.
And any other emotion, negative emotion.
Yeah, there's a link between the emotions and your physical expression. So
I think you're a wonderful example of the positive side of that. You have you don't take any medication. You have no major illnesses. You do get, the occasional, back pain or something like that. But generally, you don't allow those issues to take over, and your emotional level stays high.
Yeah, I've never spent a night in hospital in my life.
Yeah.
I've never developed a major disease in my life. I've never been on any pharmaceutical, apart from antibiotics. I've taken antibiotics when I've had, a need for antibiotics, but that's about it, really. But yes, I do manage my vibration to be high. And I do notice if I'm feeling out of alignment, and I use my meditation techniques to bring myself back into alignment.
But see, with you, I just realized something. There's a correlation there, because with you've spent the past 20 years working with people, giving them readings and being in that higher vibrational state. And so, I mean, that's not even how do I put that? It's not really on a conscious level. You do it consciously, but you're not consciously going, oh, I must stay in this positive vibrational state to be healthy. You're doing it for another reason, and it's allowed you to be healthier,
Well,
I think.
Well, okay, so two things on that. Well, I think I do consciously know that I need to keep my vibration high to be healthy. But yes, I am spending usually many hours every day in that state. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon. And Cryon was saying that there is a correlation between the channeling state and aging slower, because you're moving into a different brainwave pattern. You are, it's not exactly that you're putting your body on hold, but you know that I guess you're slowing down some of and relaxing the body to be able to do it. And the other anecdotal thing is, I always remember when Eckhart Tolle, he was on Oprah with his book. I mean, it was The Power of Now, obviously, I'm sure. And she said to him, "How old are you?" And he said, and this must have been over 10 years ago now, and he said, "This body is 64 years old," something like that. And he really just looked in his 40s, you know. And again, it's the meditation, it's the management of his vibration. He's in a particular state where he's not cultivating anxiety and stress, he's cultivating peace and calm, you know. And so there is such a lot to be said for the correlation between meditation and health. There's been a lot of scientific research about meditation and health. And of course, meditation is one of the main things that's out there that to help people who are suffering from stress and anxiety, right? You know, if you don't want to go on an anti-anxiety medication, then learn how to meditate. There's loads of scientific studies that shows it releases stress in all sorts of different slices of the demographic. And there's loads of research that shows that meditation helps with immunity, reduces blood pressure, and all sorts of physical illnesses as well. And so if the question is, well, how do I cope with stress and anxiety? What's your tip, Dr. Leslie? How do I avoid getting ill? What's your tip, Dr. Leslie? I would always say meditation. Meditation. Because meditation allows you to, it depends on the form of meditation that you do, but definitely the form of meditation that I teach helps you understand your energy system, helps you be able to tell the difference between if your energy system is in alignment with your higher being or out of alignment with your higher being. And that's another way of saying it. If you're in alignment with your higher being, then you're going to be feeling passion, joy, excitement, love, because that's the nature of your higher being. If you're out of alignment with your higher being, you're going to be feeling some different things. So you can learn to be consciously aware of your energy system and be aware of what the dominant vibrations and what's your unique vibration and what's an out of alignment vibration. And I also teach techniques that will help you release and let go of those out of alignment vibrations. And we always plug this. There's a free meditation on my website that you can download, and it will teach you a technique called grounding. And the grounding technique will help you to release stress and anxiety. And it also includes a technique called centering, and the centering meditation will help you to be neutral about your situation. Because the problem is, if we're not neutral and we're in an anxious, stressed out state, we will go round and round and round and round and round, feeling afraid and having our thoughts going round and round and round and round and round. And it can be a vicious cycle. So how do you get out of that? And if you can learn to center, then this is how you can learn to, it's like sitting in the eye of the storm rather than in the swirling vortex of the storm. It's a place where you can seat your consciousness and be the neutral observer of your reality, rather than be tossed and turned on the stormy nature of your out of control emotions or your out of control thoughts. Another really good reference, if you want to go a bit beyond the free downloadable meditation, is to get a copy of my book, Intuition and Chakras, because there's plenty of instruction in there with meditation techniques that will help you to manage your vibration and to understand your energy system and work with your energy system. And if you even want to go beyond that, then I have a course called Unlock Your Intuition. And it actually is starting, I've got a new class of students, their first live sessions next Monday. And so if you are interested in developing your intuition, it's a brilliant course, but I'm mentioning it here. So, well, why are you talking about that, Dr. Leslie? Because your show is about stress and anxiety. I'm talking about that because in order to develop your intuition, you have to manage your energy. So the same techniques that help you develop your intuition help you manage your energy. And so the Unlock Your Intuition course, it's kind of like a dual pathway. You can't develop your intuition without healing yourself. And in a way, you can't heal yourself without inadvertently developing your intuition. Because if you can keep your energy feel clean and clear and in a high vibration, then you will naturally open your intuition. So the two things go hand in hand. So if somebody comes to me and they want to develop their intuition, I will take them through a process that is going to help them deal with stress and anxiety as a byproduct. If somebody comes to me with stress and anxiety, I will take them through a process that's going to help them develop their intuition as a byproduct, because they're the same thing. They're the exact same thing. So I invite any and all of you who want to join the next group of students in Unlock Your Intuition. We learn about the chakra system. Every week we're talking about a different chakra, and every week we're also talking about a different block that you can encounter, and it's framed as the common blocks to developing your intuition, but they're the same things that we're talking about on this show, which is stress and anxiety. So for example, block number 1 is actually putting some time aside to meditate. Right? A lot of people have got good intentions and they don't do it. So what's blocking you from meditating? Block number 1. And we commit ourselves to do a daily meditation while we're taking the course. Block number 2 is monkey mind. If your thoughts are going round and round in your head, bouncing around like a ping pong game, then your intuition is going to be blocked. But that's also a symptom of being stressed out. So your intuition is not your thoughts. It's not your thoughts. It's not your thinking mind. That's part of the body. Your intuition comes from you as spirit. So if the mind is dominating and there's all these worry thoughts going on, and that's where your focus is, you are going to be far away from tapping into your intuition. And where you're going to be is you're going to be anxious. You're going to be in a state of stress and anxiety. And then the next module is the emotional roller coaster ride. Feeling like an emotional, basket case, that, my, emotions are up and down and all over the place, and intense emotions of fear and anger and shame and guilt, and, how deeply how much they can dominate us. And so if that's where you're at, you're also not going to be tapping into your intuition, because your emotions are actually signals from your body. They're signals from your body, like we were saying earlier, to say, oh, I love this reality that you've placed me in. It's fantastic. I feel great. Or, I hate this. And, I'm telling you that things are out of alignment with your higher being, because I am not enjoying this. So the emotions are of the body. You do have a psychic ability called clairsentience, which is how you listen to that emotional guidance from the perspective of your higher being. So, our module number 3 in Unlock Your Intuition it's to do with that. It's to do with the emotional roller coaster ride, and how to calm the emotions through meditation, and how to, again, be able to separate yourself from the emotions. So, and training yourself to be present within your body in a seat of consciousness that allows you to be neutral.
SG says, she asked a question. It's already answered, but I'm going to repeat the question anyway. And it's, how about when your brain is too busy to meditate properly, or you're too anxious? But like anything else, I mean, what you're talking about is you just don't instantaneously control everything in your life through meditation. It's the word here that a lot of people forget. It's the meditation practice, and it's a practice. It's
yes,
something
it is.
you do.
But also, there are many different types of meditation. So I often get people come to me and say, well, I can't meditate. But then my question is, well, what type of meditation were you doing? What did the meditation teacher that you had actually teach you? Because there's many different types of meditation. And so, you could be, and forgive me because you might not, I thought it was called Vipassana meditation, which I have never been on a Vipassana meditation retreat, but, you're not speaking, and you're sort of, dealing with your, your insides. I don't believe that they teach you to seat your consciousness in a place of neutrality. So you can be doing that type of meditation, but still being tortured inside yourself, right? Or somebody, well, I don't know, get you to focus on a spot on the wall. You can still be, in a state of turmoil. So the meditation techniques I teach, they are the ancient mysteries. And they teach you the difference between body and spirit, and they teach you how to coordinate body and spirit, and they teach you how to place your consciousness, which is you, the spiritual being, within the body, so that you are the one that is in dominion over the body, rather than the other way around. So to answer your question, SG, if you know the techniques that I teach you, then you can very quickly be not overwhelmed by the anxiety and big busy thoughts, right? So we teach you to put your consciousness in the center of your head. If you do that, you are separate from the busy thoughts, and you are above the anxiety. To do it, you have to be grounded as well, by the way. So very, very quickly, I can take somebody like you who says that and have you meditating, and have you validate that this form of meditation actually will help you with that. It's the same thing. The other common thing that happens is people will say, well, I can't meditate because when I meditate, my body hurts. What's actually happening is, when you're meditating, at least the way I teach you to do it, you're coming into your body. When you're coming into your body, you're becoming more aware of what is going on in your body. And you're noticing, my body's in pain. My body's suffering. I've been ignoring my body because I've actually not really even been present in my body. So the meditation is bringing you into awareness of the body that you've been ignoring and been in denial of. It's not the meditation that's causing the pain. The pain has been there all along. It's just that you're noticing it because of the meditation. But if you continue meditating, then you will be able to release the pain, whether it's physical pain, whether it's emotional stress, mental anxiety, and all of those things, all of those discomforts that destroy our lives. Through meditation, you can take charge of those energies, you can release them from your system, and you can turn the train around. You can switch the tracks and be moving in the direction of better health, because you are clearing those aspects that have a direct link to illness, namely the subject of today's show, stress and anxiety.
And now, Dr. Leslie, guess what?
Time for another break.
It's time for another break. And during that break, if everybody wants to take a second, just give us a like on a thumbs up on the, and you can even share this. I mean, by all means, share the experience with somebody else. We're trying to get that out, the words out to people. So, and
welcome back. Listeners, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight's show is about the link between stress, anxiety, and physical illness.
I have one thing to say before we get to the questions, and I mean, the importance of the emotions and the importance of controlling emotions through whatever means, but mostly by meditation. Emotions are very like physical aspects too. If you look at light and dark, and I love this expression, and I've used it many times on this show. I mean, we have this thing called a flashlight. If you go into a dark room and you click on a flashlight, there's light, right? You can't go into a light room and flick on a dark light, a dark flashlight type thing. There's no such thing that makes the room dark. It's one state or the other. There's very rarely where it's a melding of two states when it comes to that type of physicality. And so emotions are the same thing. Where there's love, fear can't exist. Where there's fear, love can't exist. So you gotta, and that's why I wanted to say about Dr. Leslie earlier. She's in that state of caring and love so much during the day that it's very difficult for those negative things to come and squeeze themselves in. It's quite.
Sometimes they have a good try, though.
Oh yeah, one of them is very interesting. One of them, it does happen to Dr. Leslie, mostly when she does entity readings, when she's helping people remove entities. That's when major negativity and fear is present in a reading. I mean, it's constantly battering her, and I see that. It's very interesting to watch. It's actually you can physically see when she's had an entity reading. Her color changes and everything. It's kind of a.
I don't really want to talk about entity readings because I'm not sure I'm even going to do them anymore. But I will comment on it, which is to say that, you know, to do that type of session, I need to clean my energy out in advance of the session, be cleaning my energy out during the session while I'm doing it, and be cleaning my energy out afterwards. And so it's probably the most challenging thing I do and the least enjoyable thing I do. And really the only people that I want to do that for anymore are people like my students, like, for example, Carol, who's in the chat room, if it, is like, we had one of the students in our group who had an entity attachment the other week. But for people who are committed to their spiritual growth, for people who are going to do the work themselves to, on their energy, then I'm happy to help. And it's a lot easier to help somebody like that. But a lot of people are attached to being a victim and are not prepared to do any work themselves. And if they don't, it won't work, because all healing is self-healing ultimately. So me as the healer, it is a partnership, and I prefer to help people who are willing to help themselves, because otherwise I can't do it for you. I can do it with you and help you in your process. But there's not a magic wand that says, bing, everything's fine for you. Everyone, we're all on this journey. We're all on our own journey, right? We expand through our own experiences on our individual journey. Nobody else can do your journey for you. You must participate.
Anyway, on to questions, Dr. Leslie. Thank you. I don't think I have ever been, this is from Ligia. Ligia, I hope I pronounced that right. I don't think I've ever been aligned with my higher being. Can you help me figure out what that feels like, or maybe help me remember a time in my life that I have felt passion and joy?
Okay. I'll make a couple of comments on that. Immediately, what comes up when you're a baby? When you first came into this world, you were aligned with passion and joy. You were straight from the non-physical, straight from source energy, and you were. And so if you can feel into that state of being a baby before all the different experiences of this life happened, then that's a way to tap into it. But I also just want to clarify something. And I mean, maybe I should have said it differently earlier. There's a bit of a paradox here, in that actually it's impossible for you to be out of alignment with your higher being. But what it really is you are having the perception of that. You are having the experience of that. So you are always a part of your higher being, and the life that you are living is always part of the expansion of your higher being. But you can have the experience of feeling out of alignment with that. And I guess another way of saying it is like we were saying, well, your higher being is love. So if you're vibrating as love, then that feels good and that feels in alignment, because that's true to your natural state. But if you are in fear, that doesn't feel good, and it's not in alignment with your natural state, right? You can't ever be, I'm trying to find the way to say it, you can't ever be outside of who you are, outside of your soul, right? I guess maybe that's another way of saying it. Yeah, so think about when you were a baby. Or another thing is, if you think about something or somebody that you love. If you have children, or if you have a baby of your own, or if you have a little dog or something that you really love, where it's not charged with other energies like a relationship with your spouse or something. So if you can think of that thing that you think of as pure love and just tap into that, then you may be able to get yourself into a state of pure love, and then you are in alignment with your higher being.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. This is from Carol. Carol says, I've learned many different types of meditation, but nothing like Dr. Leslie's meditation. It's the most powerful, life-transforming meditation that made me feel in love meditating and look forward to it every morning and night. Highly recommend Dr. Leslie's meditation. So grateful to have found it. Well, thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much, Carol.
That was unsolicited, folks. So just so you know. This is from SG. She says, my mom has a high blood pressure. We can't always control the daily stress around her. So what can she do to control her blood pressure? And what is the emotional or energetic root cause of it?
Okay, SG, let's look at your mom. Right, I'd almost like a little bit more information, but just based on SG's mom and not asking a bunch of questions that we don't have time for. It looks like the root cause is similar to what I was saying before. It looks like she uses a burst of anger to get the energy moving, to get out of a state of feeling stuck or blocked, or got to get on with it anyway. So it's almost like she has these injections of anger as a boost to force her to get going. So it does feel like the high blood pressure is linked in with that. And then the other part of the question is, what can you do to help her, or what can she do to manage it? So I'm wondering, I mean, I don't know, and it looks like there's a person in her life who's really afraid, and whose energy is often really spread out, and that she's trying to get herself out of being, what's the word, engulfed in this other person's energy. So I don't know if she's like married, or if it's your dad or somebody that she lives with, but it looks like there's somebody in her life that tries to knock her off her path, and then it's almost like, got to get on with life. And so what can we do to help her? Well, if she's open to meditation, share the meditation techniques with her. Or look at her life choices and look at her living situation, and is she prepared to take herself out of the situation that is engulfing her? And if yes, that probably make a difference. And if no, then separate herself as much as she can from that energy. And meditation would be one way that would help towards that. I hope that helps.
This what that brought up was a show that I used to watch called Kung Fu with David Carradine. I don't know how many people have watched it, but he was a Kung Fu monk. He was a Shaolin monk. And in one episode, they took him and put him in a hot box, a metal box out in the desert. And 24 hours, and that would kill most people. And 24 hours later, he came out and he was fresh as a daisy. And then so they got really upset, these guys, and put him back in for another day. And he came out and he was fresh as a daisy. And they said, how did you do that? And he says, I became one with the heat. And it sounds foolish in one way, but I'm reading the question again, and it's just, can't always control the daily stress around her. And that's true. You can't control the environment, in essence, all the time, but you can control your attitude towards the environment. It's like going swimming. When you jump in the water, you're going to get wet, right? But if you don't want to get wet, you don't jump in. But when you get in, you can either drown or swim. And so you take advantage of the situation. So it's not about not letting the environment rule you. You become one with the environment so that it doesn't take an effect on you. It's easy to say, not easy always to do, though.
Yeah, well, so exactly. I mean, control your own energy. And actually, if you can control your own energy, your environment will shift, because ultimately your environment is a reflection back at you of your energy. That's an interesting anecdote about, was it David Carradine who played that character? Yeah. There are, because the other extreme of that is the monks that meditate in the snow. They sit in the snow all night, barely wearing anything, And in the morning, the snow has melted all around them. Right. So, yeah.
It's we have control. We have control over our emotions, and we have control over our bodies. It's just a matter of using that control. And, this question is from Lori. Lori says, could you please look at what may be going on with me and a friend that I really recently ran into online at a meditation group? And we were getting along great, and then she got mad and stopped talking to me. All I know is she kept feeling irritated, but she still wants to work things out with a third party rather than talking about it. And I'm trying to figure this out.
So I'm assuming this is just an online friend rather than a physical friend. So, well, it looks like it's her stuff, actually. It looks like there's some trauma and abuse that's been lit up in her system. And I don't actually think she's seeing you clearly. But I mean, I guess it's possible that something about you triggered it. And that's not being a blaming thing. That's just, if we're there in a high vibration, it's like Corey saying earlier about the light in a dark room, right? Then there is light. So if we show up in light, sometimes it can just naturally trigger things in people because now they're having light thrown on the issue. So it does look like she's going through something and that she doesn't have a neutral perspective on what she's going through. And she doesn't really, it does look like perhaps a third party would be helpful for her because it doesn't look like she's able to clearly see about it. But I'm seeing it's everything to do with her, and it doesn't really look like it's actually to do with you. It's possible that she might project that it is, but I'm not seeing that it is. Other than the fact that you have quite a bit of information, Laurie, don't you? You've been meditating for many years. So yeah, that's what I see about that.
I have two more questions. One is from Brian. Brian says, what about trauma? If it's stored in the body, emotions, feelings running in the background that a person may not even remember or know about, trauma can cause stress and anxiety as well. Is it harder to clear it out?
The short answer is no. The longer answer is, of course, that stuff comes up for people when they're ready to deal with it. So we've all got our own natural pace and process. But there are meditation techniques that you can use to work on that. And, there can be buried memories. And one of the things I work on that with people, because if I've helped someone to develop their clairvoyance, every moment in your life is recorded in your personal Akashic record. So whether you remember it or not, you can look at, where in my life were there traumatic events, and you can look at the pictures or records of those traumatic events, and then you can de-energize and release the emotional content from those traumatic events. And so there are meditation techniques that I teach that will help people to do that. So we can then look at things we don't remember and bring them into our conscious awareness. But there are also techniques where we can work with on a symbolic level, where we're not actually looking at the fact of the traumatic event, but we are clearing the energy associated with it without even knowing what it was. So there are lots of ways to clear trauma. I think it's really important not to trigger somebody's trauma into their awareness before they're ready, though. Looks like we're at the end of the show, folks.
We are actually, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. We're back to our normal Tuesday nights for
Next
the
week, yeah.
for the podcast pre-recording. So we'll see you next Tuesday at 7. If you've got a show topic you want to suggest, write to us. We're always happy to listen to what you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah. Thank you. Uh-oh. I forgot to record the show.
You did not.
Yes.